Good morning. I am in the kitchen again, and actually you saw the chicken casserole that I made, and I'm going to make side dish, but I wanted to do it on a separate video. So pulled out some carrots that I had canned and put them into the pot, 3 pints, and I'm just going to tell y'all what I did on the carrots. I added about a little over a fourth of a cup of brown sugar, a package of onion soup mix, some onion and garlic powder, and a dab of salt. And they'll be delicious. So that's the orange on the plate. But I'm going to cook some of the squash that I grew in my raised bed out back. And I'm excited about that. So what I'm going to do is cut up, I've got 2 Vidalia onions here. And I like Vidalia onions. They're sweet. And they get sweeter when you caramelize them. I'm going to put them in the skillet and cook them until they're almost caramelized. Then I'm just going to cut my yellow squash up in there and let it cook down, and it's delicious, y'all. It makes its own juice. I don't add any water to it. I just let it all cook and cook down, and we'll get that going just in a minute. You hear that beeping? My tea's ready to start steeping, so I'll be back in just a minute. I'm going to make some tea. Okay, I'm just going to get these onions cut up into little smiley faces. Half moons, or whatever y'all call them. I like for people to smile, so we'll just let our onions smile today. Get the core out. I don't like that in there. It's kind of woody and it don't taste good. That didn't have one. I guess I done peeled it off. I'm just going to cut around them in little slices to where they'll all cook down good. I can just eat caramelized onions by themselves. That stuff is good. Now, April don't like onions cooked in soup or anything. She said when it gets in her mouth, everything else goes down and the onion's still there. But she'll eat caramelized onions. That's weird, but that's how they roll. So that's good. I can put onions in my squash and they'll eat it, because they just might not eat it otherwise, because you got to have onions in your squash. Now one day I'm going to make again for y'all, and I've made it before, but I love the black-eyed peas squash casserole, and I have a video somewhere of it, but it's been a long time, and I want to make a pan of it for me, and then I'll freeze part of it, just pull it out as I want to eat it. But I'm going to make some of that squash casserole with my squash that I grew. I've got just a little bit, probably 2 or 3 tablespoons of olive oil in here. And I'm just going to let this cook until it starts to caramelize. Now, my sweet tea that I'm making, I have these little muslin bags that I bought, and you can't see it because it's in the tea picture, from Amazon, little drawstring. And I put 2 tablespoons of my organic tea leaves in there. And I put it in my 6 or 8 cup measuring pitcher. Get my water to boiling. I do 6 cups of water. And I pour it over there, and I do the tea up and down in it to make sure all the tea leaves are wet. And then I let it steep for 7 minutes covered with foil. That's what it's doing right now. Now when the beeper goes off, in my gallon pitcher, I have 1.5 cups of sugar. Now, some people do 2 cups and some people more. But I'm trying to cut back a little at a time on my sugar. I like that sweet tea. So I do 1.5 cups of sugar. And I found out that after you put it in the ice box, it gets a little sweeter. So I like it having been in the ice box. Lauren likes fresh tea. So I'm making a pitcher of fresh tea to have to please those grandkids. So I'm going to I'll show y'all or tell you what I'm doing when I finish it up here in a little bit. So I'm going to let the onions cook down and caramelize. Then I'm going to add a few little swats of butter in there and cut my squash up, and we'll get them in there and let it all cook down together, and we're going to have a good meal. Y'all have already seen part of what we're having today, and then I'll get it all finished and y'all see this video in a day or 2. That way I get to be in your house with you a little more often instead of doing it all on one video at one time. And I like visiting with y'all. I'm going to tell you something, my Strings family. I don't know what I'd do without this to keep me occupied. I All of your love and support has been amazing to me. I needed it. I'm gonna need it. The emptiness is not gonna go away. I'm just gonna have to adjust to it. So when I get on here, I think about all of you that have texted me, have emailed me, have sent me cards, and I kind of see your faces. It means a whole lot to me. And I'm going to be on here as much as I can. I don't know if y'all have ever lost anybody, but there's a gazillion things you have to take care of. And on top of that, my Troy was a collector of junk. And I am selling junk. I've got a friend that's helping me. I don't know what I'd do without Sean. And I'm selling that junk, and I'm just putting the money back because I'm going to have taxes come due that I'm going to have to pay. So, along with me trying to tend to the paperwork and all the Social Security and all that you have to tend to, I'm trying to clean this up a little bit around here. So, I got a lot going on, but I'm going to do my best to at least do 2 videos a week. Now, if something happens and I can't, I'll be back. Don't give up on me. And then maybe later I can even do more, because once I get everything done, what else am I going to do? The only problem is I don't have anybody to eat. So it's going to be rough. Like, I like to make casseroles and all, and I've got to learn how to cut them down a little bit. I'm going to try to get some of my recipes that I've made and make smaller batches, because some of y'all are like me. You need smaller batches. So maybe I'll work on that a little bit. But I just wanted to tell y'all again, thank you for loving me and supporting me. And thank you to the channels that have told you all to come over and visit with me, support me, pray for me. I appreciate that so much. I'm going to try to pay it forward. When I know somebody's in need, I'm going to try to ask you all to go and support them. Got me a big old loud timer, so I can hear if I'm in the other room, and that's telling me the tea's ready to make. So let me see if I can bring that over here, and I'll just show y'all what I do. There's my pitcher with my 1.5 cups of sugar in it. And this is how I steep my tea in this big old Pampered Chef measuring pitcher thingy. And see my little bag, it doesn't look like muslin anymore. It looks dark because it's had tea in it so much, but I can just reuse it. Squeeze all the juice out that I can get out. If I was stronger in the hands, I might could get more out, but I'm not. And then I just pour this good old steeped tea. And let me just tell y'all, I ordered my tea from Harneys, Harneys, Harneys and Sons. And it does make a difference in how your tea tastes and what kind of tea you use. I used Lipton's Louisiana for many years. Lipton's was the one I used the most. But they have chemicals that they spray on their tea, and I'm telling you, there's a difference in the flavor of the tea. So this may be a little pricier, but it's my only vice. You know, so I figure as long as I can afford it, I'm going to have good organic tea. I don't do organic on everything. I'm not that healthy and good. So what I usually do, if we're going to drink this immediately, I go to the ice machine and I get like a 1/2 gallon of ice and put in there, and that cools it down to where you don't use as much ice in everybody's glass of iced tea. But I've got a couple of hours, so I'm just going to put cold water in here, and I just fill this on up to a gallon with cold water, and you have made the elixir of life. Southern sweet tea, and let me tell you, it'll keep you going, and it'll put a spring in your step when your spring's broke. I love my sweet tea, and y'all know that. Kind of right up there with garlic and onion powder. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pour the rest of my water in. And because our water has a whole lot of calcium in it, I use a Brita filter because it filters that calcium out. I had an uncle that had kidney stones all the time. Often. Not all the time, but often. And he finally put a filter on their house water well. He didn't have any more kidney stones. He was getting too much calcium from their water. So we've never had that problem, but I just don't like, it makes stuff kind of cloudy, and I like it clear. So besides that, it puts a scale around stuff. But I'm gonna pour this filtered water in here. I hadn't tried any other kind of filters. I like my Brita. And I watch for those sales at Costco when they put the big old boxes of filters on, and I change my filter once a month. Probably could do it a little bit more often, but I can't afford it. So at the end of the month, the tea might be a little bit cloudier. I don't know. Okay, there's my gallon of tea. I'm gonna get it out of the way. I'm gonna let these onions caramelize, and I'll show y'all what they look like, and then we're gonna cut up some squash. See how there's starting to be a little bit of caramelization on the onions. Some of them are getting a little bit brown. Trying to stir left-handed, that don't work really good. But I'm going to let them get up. I want all of them to be kind of the caramel color. So that's that. Now we're going to cut up some squash. Now look at my pretty little squash I grew in my garden. I got a bunch of them. And I pick them pretty small. I don't like them big to where they have those big old seed things in them. So I'm just going to cut the ends off. Then I'm just going to cut them in little circles. That one, something fell off the pot rack and was just right to hit it and make a little place in it, so I don't want to eat that. Y'all, I like raw squash, like dipped in ranch dressing or put it in a salad to make it pretty. Same thing happened there. Something when it fell, it hit a couple of pieces of squash and messed it up. Chickens are like that, maybe. Sometimes I think they're gonna like something and they don't eat it too good. I just cut them about 1/4 of an inch thick because it's kind of gonna cook all the pieces anyway. Come back here. Okay, I'm just gonna cut this up and get it in there when the onions get ready. Let it cook down and get a little bit caramelized, not as much as the onions. And then what's left of this, I'm going to come back, if there's some left, and there probably will be, because I'm putting extra squash in it. I want to make that black-eyed pea casserole, because I've been hungry for some of that. So I may have to cook some to go with it, but if I have leftovers, that's what I do. I'll put it in a casserole, or like sometimes I'll cook corn and green beans and carrots. What's left, I'll just put it in a pot of soup. Have most of it already done. It doesn't take long to pull out a jar of that beef that I canned, put it in the pot, add my vegetables in there, and in nothing flat, I got me some vegetable beef soup. So y'all need to think about that. If you're not, better get you some stuff ahead. And if you're a canner, can you some ground beef? Can you some roast for stew meat to go in soup, or make beef tips and gravy, or whatever you want to make, barbecue sandwiches, whatever you want to make out of it. But it's really good. And if some of y'all have got men that's deer hunters and you got a hind quarter of a deer in the freezer, cut that meat up and pressure can it. And it makes the best barbecue sandwiches, or hash with potatoes, or soup, or like beef tips and rice. I mean, it is handy, handy, handy to have on your shelf. And I do have canning videos of canning beef, and I think the venison too. Chicken, all of the meats, you do it the same way. So if you haven't done that, you need to think about it, because it sure is convenient, and it may be that that's the only meat you'll have. You never know. Things just ain't looking too pretty in our world. We've been spoiled for many, many years with freedom and abundance. It's kind of scary when you look around now, because who would have ever thought some of the things that are happening would be allowed? So we don't know what our future holds. So if you're wise, make a little bit of preparations in your pantry, because if you got a good meal, it makes everything better. You know, you could be just down in the dumps and sad and blue and dreary, and somebody call and say, hey, I just cooked a big old pot of chicken and dumplings. Why don't you come over and eat? Well, man, that just cures what ails you. So think ahead and have some staple stuff in your pantry. Some meat canned, or buy you some canned chicken, canned roast beef, whatever. Have you some stuff where you can make good meals. Now, we're facing hurricane season here. I hope we don't get one, because Troy always took care of everything for me. But anyway, I'm trying to make sure I've got everything I would need. I went to the Dollar Tree and bought me some of that shelf stable milk that's good until next year, so that if something happened, I won't have to get out and go anywhere. I got chickens laying eggs, and I got milk in a carton on the shelf, and I've got, you know, just about everything I would need. I don't have butter can, but I have ghee, which never goes bad. So, you know, you need to look at things that are going to be shelf stable and make preparations. You know, California gets earthquakes. I guess if an earthquake hits your house, your canned goods aren't going to do you any good anyway if it messes everything up. But I try to be prepared for natural disasters, because there's been times we were without electricity 2 to 3 weeks, and you'd have to go to town and get in line and hope that people would come and give away ice. I mean, it was just unreal. So get you some stuff ahead, because even if you're not in the hurricane territory, we've had some weird weather everywhere. You never know when you're not going to be able to get to the store, or when the store is not going to be stocked. Okay, I'm going to put this squash in here pretty soon. This is getting pretty brown, and ooh, Lordy, that'd be good just to eat. Y'all buy fajitas at the Mexican place? I like the charred onions that they put on there first, and then put the meat on top of it. That's I mean, I can make a fajita out of the onions and bell peppers that they put in there. And see, if I cook just for me, everything would have onions and bell peppers in it too. But I got kids that don't like that, so I try to please everybody. I want them to keep coming to my house. So, all right, I'm going to get off here for a little bit, and I'm going to let those cook just a little bit more, and then we're going to put the squash in and let it cook down. I am going to link below how I cook the green beans. I brown the bacon crisp, add my green beans, onion and garlic powder, salt, pinch of sugar, and I cook them down. And I've got a video on how to cook fresh green beans, but it's the same concept if you use canned green beans. Your canned green beans are from the store. Today I used some bought French cut green beans that I had in the pantry, and I'm cooking them the exact same way that I do fresh green beans. And I have a video on the carrots, so I'm going to try to remember to link both of those videos where you'll see how I cooked both of those side dishes. But I'm going to bring you along for the squash. So I'll be back in just a little bit, probably talk a little bit more, a whole lot more, and cook some. Okay, see, the majority of them have some of the brown caramelization on them, and I don't want them to burn. So I'm going to go ahead and add my squash in. And some of y'all probably think, why do you show all of this? Well, you know what? If somebody told me, caramelize some onions, I know exactly what to do. But everybody hadn't been cooking for 100 years like I have. So I'm trying to show you what I'm doing so you can learn and you can cook good meals for your family. So if you already know how, just watch it and get a refresher. Put my squash in, and I'm going to see if it looks like I might need some more, but I think that's probably about right. I think that's about the right amount when it cooks. I don't want to have a bunch of leftovers, because sometimes the kids want to take them home and sometimes they don't. And I get tired of putting everything in the freezer till later, you know? I'm going to eat so much. So I'm going to cut this down on low, and I'm going to put a lid on it and let it just kind of steam and cook down. In fact, I think I'm going to put it on simmer. Low's a little bit high on my stove. Real low. I'm going to let that cook for probably 10 or 12 minutes, and then I'm going to come back and show y'all what it looks like, and then I'll add my seasoning into it. Okay, y'all, it's done. The squash is tender but not mush, and I'm going to serve this with my casserole at lunchtime. So y'all have already seen the casserole. Now you see how I cook the squash. I'm going to show you my carrots. They have the onion soup mix, brown sugar, salt, onion and garlic powder in them. And then my green beans are cooked down with bacon in them. and my usual seasons. Salt, pepper, onion, and garlic powder. Thank y'all so much for watching again and listening to me talk. I hope I said something that'll resonate within you and make you, make some choices about stocking your pantry and getting a few things ahead. I'm gonna get on with getting lunch ready, and y'all will see these videos one at a time. Like I said, you've already seen the casserole. You'll see this one, and I may go ahead and do one more something. If not, I'll see you in the next video. The good Lord bless and keep you. Keep me in your prayers. I'm doing good, and I know it's because of prayer. I'll see y'all real soon.